Japanese animation is a trans-genre medium.
I do have a background in filmmaking, 10 years of experience, and I know enough about 3D CG animation from interning at Lucasfilm Animation to where I'm not completely going in blind, but I didn't know enough about anime as a culture, as a genre, so I had to kind of discover it as I was going along. And all the people we interviewed, a lot of them had really robust careers. They've been doing this for 30 plus years, and they were really kind and gracious and, sharing their passion for anime and explaining what they love about it. And I think, I got infected with the anime virus kind of halfway through the process. I didn't realize how diverse and robust it is and what an exciting art form it is. Before making the film, I had very little exposure to anime. I grew up in USSR, and I grew up on Soviet cartoons and some Disney. And I remember watching My Neighbor Totoro, but it wasn't in Russian, so I didn't know what it was about, but I really liked how it looked. That was my first kind of introduction into the genre. And then I loved Spirited Away. I watched it several times when I was working at Lucasfilm, and I went to like a live Q&A with the director, and it was so magical, and I was just, dumbfounded. What is this? Why does it look so cool? And, it doesn't seem like it's for children. It's not what I'm used to. So that was kind of like where I started with anime. Netflix actually asked me, what makes you an expert? And I decided to be honest with them. I am absolutely not an expert at all. And that's what you need. You need a complete newbie, somebody with a blank slate to go on this journey of discovering anime, to get other newbies, to relate to that journey and get on it. Because, the film is geared towards somebody who might have never seen anime or barely knows what it is. Defining anime is like trying to define rock and roll. Yes, it's a genre of animation that originated in Japan, but from then it's so much more. It's a cultural phenomenon. It's, it's a lifestyle. It bred so many subcultures, and trying to define it in like a sentence or a word is pretty impossible. That's why in a documentary I just kind of try to show everything that I saw it was.
You kind of get into some of the subcultures there are. All these, I think otaku's the term, right?
Yes, otaku is one side of it. It's, the staying at home. Otaku means home. So it's a person who stays at home, and it's a fanboy or fangirl. It's a fan person. But I going into it, I also didn't know about all the subcultures in Tokyo, and anime helped create those. From lolitas, goth lolitas, punk goth lolitas, rockabillys. And the cool thing was we found all those people by walking around on the streets in the 3 days we were shooting outside. We kind of had an idea of all the subcultures we wanted to cover, and a script that we're hoping to cover and find those people, and we found most of them. And you see them in the documentary, the ones that were open to us shooting them. Not everybody was open.
What else beyond anime did you find yourself learning while you were there in Japan about what it's like to live in Japan right now?
Well, first of all, I realized what a cosmopolitan city Tokyo is. There's so many expats there. There's so many different. There's so much life going on, and so much culture. It reminded me of New York, and kind of a big cosmopolitan city with lots of different cultural things to offer. I was surprised to talk to Roreko, the director of Agretzko, when he brought up the Me Too movement and how he was shocked to know that, the storyline of this red panda dealing with male-dominated office culture resonated with Western audiences. But, I was grateful that he shared that. And I think maybe living in Japan, he didn't realize how widespread all those stereotypes still are, and how women around the world are still kind of trying to fight for their piece at the table. in some of those bigger companies. So before you had to seek out anime, and it wasn't available in your language, like growing up in Poland or Russia. You had to really look for it, and you would watch it in some other language and try to make out what it is. But now with the streaming services, anime is so readily available, and it's translated in all the languages, and you can just stream it and binge watch it, and you're not just confined to one or two that you find. There are dozens. And because of that, Western audiences are, finding out about anime, and there are more and more Western anime fans, to where it used to be a kind of a niche thing, loving anime, but now it's becoming more and more mainstream. It was great, being able to interview LaShawn Thomas, the creator of Cannon Busters, who's now working in Japan, working with Japanese animators and creating his art there, because he's been a lifelong fan of anime. And if you talk to him, he's like an encyclopedia. He'll tell you everything. And being able to see that kind of passion from a non-Japanese person or a Western person who kind of like converted to anime was great. And now I very much admire him, and his passion for the genre. It's contagious. So when I was preparing for this documentary, I realized there are no behind-the-scenes documentaries on anime that feature more than one creator. And the idea was to use access Netflix has to all this, masters of the genre, because they're working with Netflix right now, and feature as many different types of anime as possible to kind of give the audience a broad introduction of what anime could be. I think if you watch the documentary, watch the anime that speaks to you, because we try to cover everything from stop motion, something very kawaii for, cute and for kids, to some really edgy anime like Be the Beginning, and something fun like a Gretzko. I mean, there's an anime for everyone. I don't want to single any one of them out. So I think this is a good kind of like Cliff Notes on what to watch on Netflix. My favorite anime was a Gretzko. I actually watched it twice. I love the premise, and I love the idea of this really kind of well-mannered red panda that just goes and sings death metal in karaoke to let go. All her rage can relate. I wish I could sing death metal, but I don't. I can't. I tried.